Today on Sci-Fi Weekly, we're talking about all the things. That's right, The Thing from 1982, The Thing from 2011, and The Thing from Another Planet from 1951. All that and all the week's news on Sci-Fi Weekly.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Sci-Fi Weekly.
Hey there, sci-fi fans. Welcome back to Popcorn Talk for Sci-Fi Weekly. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, bringing you all the week's science fiction headlines, discussion, and some fun stuff. I'm joined, of course, by Jesse Klein.
What up, everyone? Nice to join you in this sci-fi world. I'm super excited to talk about these movies. The Thing, the 80s one, is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah?
So getting to do this three-thing course was really exciting for me.
We're going to get into all of the stuff, like in comparisons to like the original story that it's based on.
The atomic bomb allegories, like all that stuff.
There's a ton of different things that make up like what The Thing is.
Yeah.
And we're going to get right into the thick of it. If you haven't already, be sure you're subscribed to us on iTunes for Sci-Fi Weekly. You can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, also at Sci-Fi Weekly. And be sure to subscribe to the Popcorn Talk on YouTube, which is Popcorn Talk Network, or follow the Popcorn Talk on Twitter. All the places. Leave us a review when you get a chance.
Please do.
It warms our hearts to see those reviews. And if we get a chance, we'll try to shout some of those out at the tail end of the show. And you can also send us your sci-fi moment of the week.
Yeah.
To get a shout out. All right. Well, before we get to The Thing, we got to go through the news, and we got to get through it fast because there's so many things to talk about. I'm sorry, it's really fun to play with that. With that word.
What speed can we do it at?
There's only one.
Ludicrous speed. Go!
Legendary announced that the Krampus writing team, Michael Dougherty and Zach Shields, will be directing 2019's Godzilla 2. Dougherty will also be directing, but there's no word yet if it's too late to change the 2020 Godzilla vs. King Kong into a three-way smash with Godzilla, King Kong, and Krampus. I, for one, need to know if Godzilla's been naughty or nice.
Well, grab your space capes, folks. It's confirmed that Donald Glover is going to be playing Lando Calrissian in the upcoming Han Solo movie. I don't know about you guys, but suffice it to say, this news is cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Oh, man.
It's an old joke, but it works.
Look it up, kids.
Look it up, children.
Deadpool director Tim Miller has stepped away from the heavily anticipated sequel over creative differences with the movie's star Ryan Reynolds. The rumor is that the main split was over casting for Cable. We don't know who exactly it is that Reynolds has been fighting for. Tim Miller wanted Coach Chandler from Friday Night Lights. That's not a joke. That's a real thing. Miller says that the split was amicable, but sources that I've heard say that he's currently on the hunt for a time traveler who can take him back and murder whichever studio executive gave Ryan Reynolds control over casting.
That sounds like a story I've read before.
Yeah.
Doug Liman announced this week that the sequel to his movie Jumper is coming to YouTube Red. That's right, it's going to be starring Hayden Christensen again, and it's going to explore the next generation of jumpers. Thank God, I've been waiting for this forever, said your one friend from high school who really liked that movie.
Joss Whedon said this week that he would want to make a Star Wars standalone movie. After he saw the Rogue One trailer, he said, simply, I want to do that. Reportedly, the tap dancing that Whedon's agent started doing sounded something like the Star Wars theme song. Just dun, 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 dun. It was heard down the hallways.
Yeah, sure, I bet.
Of the agency.
The Punisher has officially been confirmed for a 2017 release date, meaning between Fox and Disney, that's a minimum of 5 Marvel TV shows and 4 Marvel movies getting released just in 2017. Hey, computer, could Could I get 2017 off work? No. Okay. So sleep deprivation it is.
Yeah, there's no time.
Okay, great.
Scientists have claimed that they found 234 alien civilizations. We're just looking for one, but they seem to have found 230. They're putting out. They claim that the stars that they're examining have put out signals that are pulsing at regular intervals, and they said that there's no natural cause that they know of that could be making this. They've examined if it could be molecules rotating or sun fluctuations, chemical shifts. Nothing seems to hold up, and God only knows that if science can't explain it, the process of elimination means aliens. Aliens.
Details have leaked about the new xenomorph from Alien Covenant. The black goo from Prometheus has apparently combined with some sort of alien plant, which creates a pod that can pop open and release spores, infecting anyone through their orifices, and then the aliens pop out through your neck and spine. So great. We all got a lead on our nightmares we'll be having in August. So good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the news at ludicrous speed. So much to cover. We have to do it quickly. And let's we want to move into some discussion for because this week we got it was like the next day after we taped last week.
Yeah.
We got the Logan trailer.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And we only have a few minutes to talk about this because we want to spend as much time as we possibly can talking about the thing.
Yeah. All the things.
Yeah, all of them. What did you think of this trailer?
I really like the trailer. We were talking before. I hate the music choice. I love the song. The music choice is so on the nose for me, and it's so cliche that it made me laugh out loud as soon as I watched the trailer for the first time. I've watched the trailer a billion times, but the first time I laughed because if I was like writing a parody trailer, this is the song I would choose.
I liked the song choice. I also watched this trailer a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I thought it was. You're right. It's a little bit of a cliche trailer choice because I think a number of trailers have used it at this point.
And it's also just on the nose for the story that they're creating. Like,
yes,
like the reason why like the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer was so good is because it helped like juxtapose the two things, like crazy space, but also like really fun song. This is just on the nose. This is the story we're telling. He's going to make everyone hurt. What does he become? Like it's so on the nose.
Yeah. Well, I like it is very on the nose.
Yeah.
But like if they played this song in the movie, I would have a bigger problem with it. If we saw Wolverine sitting there like with gray hair and scars, and he's like just listening to Johnny Cash. And he's just like, yeah, man, what have I become? Like, that would be too much. But for a trailer, I think you sometimes need that, like, sort of on-the-nose hit. And the whole idea of, like, everyone I know goes away.
Yeah.
For an immortal.
Yeah,
like
for
Wolverine. Sure. Effectively an immortal.
Yeah.
It lined up well. And the trailers just cut so well.
We got a little X-23 going on in there.
Yeah, you could see, if you paused it at one point, and we don't have pictures from the trailer, but if you pause it, there's one point where you can see her claws.
Yeah.
Like coming down. Like when Wolverine goes up to stop something, it's really quick so you can't quite see it. He's stopping her claws.
And it looked like maybe some Dakin. I think maybe some Dakin in there as well.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think I saw like a 3-claw, like going after Wolverine as well.
Oh my, what?
Yeah.
All right, that's nuts. I mean, they do... In the comics, Dakin is his actual son.
Yes, is his son. So if you watch the last Wolverine movie, Dakin is Wolverine and the Japanese woman's son.
Yeah.
And he hates Wolverine and wants to kill him and like exists to basically ruin his life.
As opposed to X-23, which is his genetic clone.
Yeah, is a lady clone of him.
Yeah.
Who he raises like a daughter.
Yeah, and I like that we didn't like show that off too much.
Yeah.
What I liked about this trailer was that knowing these books, I can see I can piece together a lot from this trailer. But like, I think if you'd come into it with nothing,
yeah,
it would be like, this looks awesome, but you have no idea what the hell's going on.
I'm bummed we're not going to get any Hawkeye or Maestro, which are
parts
like,
of the original Old Man
Logan. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. You can't.
I know. It's just kind of a bummer.
Oh my god! If Maestro showed up,
because having old Wolverine fight old Hulk, who's killed everyone in the future, while blind Hawkeye is in the back of the truck shooting arrows. It's such a fun romp.
that can only exist in comic books.
Yep.
But
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, I think it's gonna be good, and I think that's part of why they probably didn't call it Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
I think they stuck with just Logan because they wanted to differentiate. It's like, you're not just getting Old Man Logan, the story. It is heavily based on it, but not exactly the story. I think it looks great. I think there's going to be some really interesting stuff with Professor X, and a lot of really interesting like questions with like people with powers. Like, if somebody has the powers of Professor X, where like he can actually affect other people's brains and like what they think.
Yeah.
Because he has that ability. He doesn't use it that way. But what happens when somebody with that power starts to go senile? Or has Alzheimer's disease and doesn't know where they are or what's going on around them. People with Alzheimer's tend to lash out a lot because they don't know what's happening. So,
And they're frustrated,
Yeah, and so Professor X could easily lash out at people.
mentally.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of great pieces in this trailer, and I like that this is like heavy sci-fi version of X-Men going on right here.
I'm very excited about it.
And that's why like it's such a polar opposite of every other movie we've seen. It's such small scale stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about ending the world.
It's just
Which like the Wolverine standalone movies that's been sort of like the strongest suit, is that they haven't been about like the entire world's gonna end unless you do this thing.
except for the first Wolverine movie, I think the Wolverine movies are very successful.
I liked the Wolverine. The Wolverine I thought was solid. Like, it wasn't great, but it was solid. That was the samurai one.
Oh yeah, the samurai one. Yeah, I thought
That was
samurai
the one
one.
that was just called The Wolverine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Not Origins.
yeah,
We're
Origins-
pretending that didn't happen. As
the
is Fox.
Deadpool. Hey, we got Deadpool because of that movie, so I'm glad it happened, but let's never watch it again or speak of it.
Yes.
But yeah, the Wolverine I thought it was great. It was a good summer movie.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get into the thing.
Well, yeah, let's dig
All right.
our teeth and mandibles into it.
Yeah. The thing is sort of one of those, it's like probably the most iconic classic horror movie that I know of. Except maybe Alien. But like
Classic sci-fi horror movie.
Sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
I want to specify.
Yeah, I think it just because of who John Carpenter is, like The Thing definitely is iconic, and the practical effects are so great and so creepy and weird to see. Like, I think for me it represents like the best of 80s sci-fi horror. Like it's by far the best. Like, even better of any of the Living Dead series. Like, I like it better than Day of the Dead, which is a fantastic sci-fi horror movie.
It's what's interesting about The Thing is that there is a lot of actual, like, there are scientists running around in this.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of implications, and part of why we wanted to do this comparison is, one, it's October, it's almost Halloween, so we wanted to do one more horror movie for the month of October
for sure.
But The Thing stood out as like it was fun going back, and I watched like all three of these within a week, just like watching them again, or in two cases for the first time, because I'd actually never seen The Thing from Another World or the 2011 Prelude.
I'd seen both of them, but I saw the 2011 Prelude when I was drunk, and and I'd seen The Thing from Another World when I was 8, so basically drunk, and so it was nice to rewatch them.
Yeah. So all right, let's start, because like the other thing is these are all based on the same story.
Yeah.
It's not like the 82 one was an adaptation of the 51 movie. It was these are all based on Who Goes There?
Yes.
Which is a story by Don Stewart, or John Campbell is his actual name. And it focuses on a group of scientists who uncover an alien ship that's buried 20 million years ago. It's one major ship.
Yeah.
It was like crashed 20 million years ago. And they bring up like a creature that they thought was dead. Now, it's a much more scientific approach.
Yeah.
And that's like they're very much just like talking about, they spend a lot of time discussing like the science of the creature and how it's going to work. It's glossed over in pretty much every other adaptation. I actually felt like they spent more time on science in the 51 movie than in any other.
Well, the 51 movie was about the atomic bomb, so it was very much about like the morality of science. Like even in the movie, the lead scientist says there are no enemies in science. There's just results. It was about, the morality of like having the American people have to deal with soldiers who bombed and did this horrible thing and dropped these horrible weapons, but it wasn't the soldiers' fault. It was the scientists' fault. It was the scientists who created this. And it was about not trusting science. So what the 51 movie was about.
How do you see that in the like what is effectively like a monster movie?
Oh, I mean, everything. Like the scientist in The Thing from Another Planet is, cultivating this thing, doesn't want to kill it. In it says it's worth it if we all die as long as we push science forward.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, he says there are no enemies in science. There's no evil in science. It's just thought. And so it's very much a warning movie about scientific thought. They even use evolution as a warning, like thought in the movie itself.
Yeah.
Whereas the military, this was the 1950s. It was before the Vietnam War. So at this point in the United States thought process, the military could do no wrong. If you are a military man, you are a good man, you are a moral man. So it was showing the difference between, like, after the dropping of the atomic bombs, how we can justify such an immoral action based by these people who are supposed to be moral people. And it was because science is immoral.
Yeah. Well, I thought it would be fun to take a look, just like talk about the different approaches to the story. Because like I was saying, like 51 is very much a monster movie. They removed, if you've never seen it, they removed like all the elements of it can take people over.
Sure.
It can they remove the idea of it like as this like weird, like very, very alien creature. Like let's take a look at the trailer for The Thing from Another World.
Do we have any audio on it?
There should be audio. But if there's not, I mean, we can...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
But like the 51 movie is very much about like I thought especially the beginning was really cool.
Oh yeah,
because they dig into like how scientists would approach like a discovery like this.
Yeah, and it's shot. It's a Howard Hawks film, and it's super. Like everything's an establishing shot. Everything, like they have these amazing shots of a plane, like a polar plane flying through the air, and like with the skis on it, like it landing on ice, and it gives it this great feel. I think the big thing about this movie is that throughout all the movies, the isolation is part of the enemy, and you felt that in this movie. You did not really feel the cold like you did in The Thing and the 2011 Thing.
Yeah.
Like it was clearly shot on a studio.
Oh yeah.
And it did not feel cold. They mentioned the cold, but it never felt cold.
Yeah, I mean, like it's also I think it's not a bigger group because they're all about the same amount of people.
Yeah.
But in fact, they like the 51 movie because it has all those 50s like horror movie tropes. Like there's a damsel for the army guy to save.
Well, she's never in distress. She's never a damsel in distress in the movie. In fact, it's a super kinky movie. There's a scene where he's tied up and she's kissing him. Like the army guy has his arms tied behind his back and she's kissing him and feeding him liquor. Like
That's weird.
It's like a very kinky movie.
I mean, you got to hide it in somewhere.
I guess, yeah. But like, she's never a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Like, she always seemed to be. It was interesting because he's an army man, but she always seemed to have some sort of power over him, which I thought was a really interesting dynamic.
I thought it was funny when all them like goading, like, you're gonna get married, right?
Yeah.
He's like, we got a monster.
We gotta kill this monster, guys.
But yeah, so then in 1982, like basically the studio for what happened was the studios dug up the story and they decided like, hey, we want to try this again with a different approach. John Carpenter wasn't the first person they went to.
Yeah.
I think it was William Nolan was the first person that they approached, and I know he wrote a treatment. I haven't read it, but it's supposedly very different.
Interesting.
And then you get you start to get into what really is more of like a mystery horror.
Yeah.
Of the movie.
Who done it?
And do we have that trailer, computer? But yeah, so it like 82 became like a very different like approach. So like let's take a look.
100,000 years ago,
Yeah.
it found its way into our galaxy. Trapped in the frozen wasteland of
Yeah, the
Antarctica,
mountains that they use, like it really does feel like you're stuck there.
Yeah.
could not escape. Now the men of Station 4 have made a monumental discovery. An alien creature had frozen, but not to death.
And yeah, of course, Kurt Russell, just
Yeah.
like being Kurt Russell.
And man is the warmest place to hide.
And that's like this scene
Yeah.
is like of all, I think is my favorite of all three
it's
movies. It's
so
because
good.
the moment where they're all gathered in a circle around him, and it's just like it's the moment where you first like realize it's also a moment that the other two movies just didn't have, was that moment of so clearly defining the rules of what's happening.
Yeah.
This is like it looks exactly like the person except for his hands and the sound that it's making. So you don't need any more exposition about how the alien goes about its business. That's all it is. Like you've already established the alien can hide like this way. But now
Also-
it's that good.
Also with the 51 movie and all three movies, the alien sound, the thing sound in all three movies was super creepy. Like it sounded weird. Like in the 51, it was a really creepy, unnerving sound. It looked terrible, but
It looks like a knockoff Frankenstein's
like-
monster.
it was like a-
Do we have that one? Or no, that's like this is the 51.
they did a really good job of not showing it for a long time.
Yeah, and everything before it shows up.
Yeah, it's creepy.
I love this.
The water.
The like such like
You son of a bitch.
he didn't even hit him in the face. He hit him like the chin.
Earthly or unearthly? Baffling question.
But
Astounding
it really is like there's a lot of military versus
question.
science stuff
Not
going
even the
on.
Scientific minds can answer. Gentlemen, do you realize what we've found? A being from another world.
And this guy just like
So good.
yeah, gonna throw us all under the bus.
Yep. To make little alien blood pods.
In the greenhouse, I was working. I couldn't see. Then a blast of cold air, and I heard Olsen scream.
I also just loved like fast talking, important information coming up right here.
Stay by the light switch.
1.9. Needles hit the top.
Flames cannot destroy the thing. Well, that went away.
Yep.
And
Nor
we'll talk about that. We're
bullets
gonna get
kill it.
into the monsters in each version, how they function. But yeah. So anyway, the
That was a male
The-
war
it-
bride.
if we pull up like just real quick, we'll watch a piece of the third.
Yeah, sure.
The third version and the trailer from it, because it was like obviously this is the modern one.
Yeah.
You want to be? He's cooped up with a dozen Norwegian guys.
And it's interesting because they don't approach it as a prequel, but it
No.
is. Well, it is approached as a prequel. Like visually, there's very little to like give you a.
The thing about being stuck in a block of ice is great because there is something really unnerving about seeing something under the ice,
Yeah.
and it's something that all three movies explore.
And the difference is that this one is much more of like this was like a science-based horror movie.
Yeah.
As opposed to it doesn't have that same mystery element that the 82 version had. And that's really the key difference between their approach. Like this is heavier on the science,
Heavier on the horror.
Yeah, but drops away the mystery that made the 82 one sort of stand out. And I think that was necessary to a certain extent because the idea of like an alien or a creature hiding as one of the people you know, one of your friends, became sort of a trope after.
Yeah, and kind of been explored.
In a long way because of the 80s movie.
Oh,
Like
for
that
sure.
trust level, like because of the 82 version, like that went away. So let's talk about the monster.
Yeah,
like
sure.
the key piece of the thing. In the original novella that it's based on, the way that they describe it is that it has 3 angry red eyes. I think it's vaguely like more or less like in a humanoid shape from at least how I heard it. And it has blue worm-like stuff where hair should be.
Interesting.
Is the wording. And the big note
Cilia.
that's in there that makes that monster stand out is that it's telepathic.
Okay.
In all versions, it goes for, or at least in this one in 82 and 2011, it goes for dogs.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like it uses the dogs. There's also cows.
And also in the 51 version as well.
Did it go for a dog?
Yeah. It's the first thing it kills is dogs, and it like drains the blood out of dogs, and that's how they find out that's what it eats.
Yeah.
That's how it feeds.
But as opposed to becoming a dog, because that's the big difference in 51
is that it doesn't
really become people.
No.
It just feeds on our blood.
Yeah.
And the other big shift that they made in that first adaptation was that it was plant-based.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating, and I love that on a science fiction level.
Yeah.
Because the idea of a creature so foreign to us that it's not even
an
animal, but it is still an intelligent being.
Yeah. Well, they explain it. They're just like, on another planet, if evolution goes a different way, instead of humans being the intelligent species, carrots could be the intelligent species.
A big bipedal carrot.
That's a line in the movie. They're like, "Oh, it's a walking carrot." Yeah, like,
and it's resistant to fire.
It is,
as the trailer so eloquently
Yeah.
explained to us before you see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they take it down with electricity instead.
Yeah.
So they take it down with more scientific approaches because electricity is less basic than fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Fire is very primal.
Yeah, they use a giant Venus flytrap. Or not Venus fly, just regular flytrap.
I know what you meant, yeah. But yeah, so that's the 51 monster. 82, it is a much more frightening,
has no
creature.
It has no consistent lines, which I like. Like, there's nothing that your brain, like, if you saw an outline of it, you couldn't get your mind around, like, what it is.
Yeah, well, and there's 51.
Yeah, which is basically Frankenstein with claws.
And yeah, there he goes, getting electrocuted.
Yep.
But then if we skip to the next one, we will see, in 82, it gets real frightening.
Yeah, it has zero consistent, like, lines. Like, you can't figure out what that thing is.
Yeah, what's interesting is that, like, rewatching, and the way that I rewatched was that I went and watched the 2011 movie because it's a prequel, and then 82.
Yeah.
The two have a very, almost surprisingly clean flow.
Yeah.
between the two of them.
I didn't like the 2011 one as much because it shows you the creature more.
Yeah,
And it like tried to make the creature understandable, which I
don't know
didn't.
if it made it understandable, but it did give us the more of the backstory.
Yeah,
to it.
which I did not like that much.
Well, like the big differences in the 51 version of it, they talk about how like we committed crimes against it. We hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
We had done things wrong. In these versions, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Everybody blows up the ship.
Yeah, everyone drops a thermite bomb.
Yeah.
Everyone like that's
In all the versions.
In all the versions, thermite bombs are used and the ship blows up.
But
also encased in ice.
Yep.
Yeah.
All like cryogenically frozen.
Yeah. Dogs and everything. It doesn't become a dog in the 51 version, but the dog is a very important kind of visual that's used in it.
Yeah. The 82 monster, like it spreads through blood as opposed to necessarily feeding on it.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like insect-like for a lot of it. But
Yeah.
you're right in that it sort of just it juts out at random.
Yeah.
Almost like a plant to a certain extent, where like it can just grow as it seems like it feels like it needs to.
Yeah, like a reaching vine or something like that needs to reach for something new. Yeah. Yeah, and it spreads through blood, which is interesting because it's physical. Like it somehow gets reduced into a blood transfer.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about like what in the 2011 monster.
Yeah. That one kind of like assimilates people.
Yeah, it like melds with people.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like what 2011 is doing is it's sort of like explaining a lot of how the monster got to where it is in 82. So it crash lands, and like that was sort of the like I love that stuff, like seeing like how like the discovery.
Yeah.
And that was what I thought was really cool about the 2011. The first half of the 2011 movie was, I think, really fun.
Yeah.
Because you get to see all these pieces. You see them uncover the monster. They bring up this character, Kate, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
And like she specializes in thawing out frozen animals. And they bring out this block of ice that you see in 82. And they show you like how it like breaks out of there.
Yeah.
Like it's just been dormant. Like it sort of put itself there to be found.
Yeah.
Which I found fascinating.
See, I didn't like any of that. Like the thing I love about the 82 movie is that you know nothing. That you go in and you just like all of these people are dead. No one knows what happened. This guy cut his wrists and his throat. Like what is going on? Why were they shooting at a dog? All of this stuff is just like left up there. Like I'm glad like we're able to tell a story and you don't need to know any of this. What you need to know is that it's a character study on like how people react. How are you supposed to trust people when you are isolated and you can't trust anyone?
Yeah, which ultimately is what's makes that just a stronger film overall.
Like I didn't like the 2011 one because it ruined the 82 one for me.
Just because you don't like knowing.
I don't like knowing any of that.
That's
like it's the reason why I like Alien so much is because it just says like here's this thing, fucking deal with it. Sorry, it's not safe for work, guys.
deal with it.
Yeah, just like here's this like you're not supposed to understand aliens.
And that's right. Although
look how creepy it is.
Yeah,
like it's just a head on spider legs.
But at the same time, like if we jump to because I pulled some photos because something that was cut from the 2011 version.
Yeah.
That I found like absolutely fascinating because it sort of sets up that there is like another prequel in the same vein that this was set up.
Yeah.
Because so they find it in the ice, but the piece that they cut out, where you see that weird digital, like even the director describes it as like digital Tetris thing going on, the interface that was covering up this guy, which was called the pilot, like the mummified pilot alien. And it was commissioned, it was put in there like in the prosthetic version, and they were going to digitally enhance it. And they ultimately deemed it like either too complex, or I think most people got confused in test screenings as to what it was doing there. But effectively, what Kate finds as she goes through the ship is she finds like a room full of pods with different alien creatures in them, and one is broken.
Gotcha.
So what we find out is that like this creature, and you see the fingers that look very much how we saw the things, like fingers, especially like in the big shot outside.
Yeah.
This was like, I guess, who he captured the thing, and then they had the same scenario play out in space before the movie.
And then it crashed.
What it sort of implies with the spindly fingers that look so familiar to us is that something that I always thought when I saw the thing was that it is slowly absorbing pieces of each creature that it inhabits.
Oh, cool.
And that like we don't really like what its pure form is.
We don't know.
Is either irrelevant because it's like either we will just never see it, or it's irrelevant because it goes away. And the instant that it never has a true form, it just absorbs part of the form and the knowledge of the creatures that it takes over. It's sort of a hive mind theory in that sense of like it just absorbs one thing and moves to the next, and then in a million years, if it's just kept conquering different creatures, it's absorbed so much knowledge that it's the wisest, smartest creature in the universe.
It's a decorator crab with DNA.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's been my like loose theory on the thing.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the 2011 version, it sort of like enhanced that belief.
I think that's cool. I mean, I like all of the science. I like all of the ideas in the 2011 movie. I just don't like getting that backstory for the thing. Like the 82 thing, in my opinion, is perfect, and like I don't need to know what happened before.
Yeah, it's something that I toy with. I go back and forth on all the time because like 2001 for me is like the big example because like I love the book because it gives so much more like definitive, like this is how things happen. This is why it happens. This is the science behind everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Even with where it leaves mystery, there's still a lot more explanation.
Yeah.
And I get on board with all that. At the same time, I can fully appreciate that the mystery of the film and the more like artistic aspect and the loose interpretations that lends to different people having different views on it is also a very strong way to make a movie.
Yeah, and I mean it just depends on what type of story you're telling. Like I really enjoy dry science fiction stories where I learn about like how things are hydraulically put together and like the history of everything.
Yeah.
That stuff, I'll eat up that lore like it was like breakfast cereal in a giant bowl. Like I love that. But for me, the thing isn't that type of story. Like the thing that makes the 82 thing so much fun is you have no idea. And you're not expected to know because no one ever finds out.
Yeah.
They show up to that base and no one ever leaves knowing what happens. Like no one ever like finds a journal or like an audio log and it's like, oh, it's this alien, we uncovered it. Like all the, like, it's just like they piece it kind of together, but they have no idea. Which I really like.
What's like, especially because we got that recent acknowledgement that the eye lines, like the eye lights, were a piece of like a hint towards who was infected and who it wasn't. How did you rewatch it with that in mind?
I did, and that didn't bother me because that's just kind of like something the film.
Oh no, that's just a really cool artistic choice. I mean, did it like at the end, like did it change your theories at all on, or do you have a theory?
I think that the creature escapes.
You think it escapes?
Yeah.
I just meant like if one of the two of them or both of them were.
That's what I'm saying.
Infected.
One of them is infected. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm asking, which one?
I think it's and I've forgotten his name. The guy, the guy.
Kurt Russell or not Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
I think Kurt Russell is infected.
He was Reeds.
Yeah.
Was it Reeds?
Maybe Reeds.
Yeah, that seems it. Yeah, because he's trying. I think the coyness.
Yeah.
Of like, well, we'll just have to stay here and wait it out. Is like.
It's
That's
very,
like it sounds like a villain trying to pretend he's not a villain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like that's a smart play.
It is the smart
trying
play.
to protect humanity.
Yeah.
We could also see I could see a sequel happening. And I think it might have even been like that's the thing. Is like I like 2011 because I like building on the story.
Yeah.
But it may be that a sequel is more effective, like more of a widespread thing.
Yeah.
To capture the meaning and the essence behind the John Carpenter's movie, as opposed to just expanding the world.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly sure that there needs to be anything done with the movie. Like, I like that it's just this simple mystery, and that's it. It's such a small story that is so scary and so effective. Like, I like all the science in the 2011 thing. I think it's cool, but I don't think it added anything for me. It's subtracted.
It didn't. Yeah, I don't think that the 82 film needed it in any way.
And I don't think it needs a sequel. Like, I don't know. Like,
not that it needs, but just like, is there more to tell?
I mean, I guess
is there a good story there?
I guess you could. The way I would see you do a sequel to the 82 movie is you do an Aliens to Alien, where it's a completely different style and almost different genre, and it's almost like you would do it where half of Anchorage is infected, and it's like a survival kind of horror kind of thing about like the last humans that are not infected by this creature, and maybe make it even more of an action story and not make it like you'd have to like completely retool everything.
Yeah, I can see that. So I don't feel like I don't even need to ask this question.
Yeah.
About which was the best version, because I think everybody can acknowledge it was 82.
In order, I go 82, 52, 2011.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
As much as 51 is like campy
Or
at
51,
this point.
sorry, yeah.
As much as it's like campy and ridiculous and outdated, and obviously the effects are ridiculous, like silly. But like, to be honest, the 2011 effects are just as silly at times. They look smoother, but like the moment where the guy like presses his cheek up against the other one is like caressing him, just so that they can create the monster that like you eventually get on the slab in 82.
Yeah.
Is so weird and like uncomfortable in not the right way.
Yeah.
That thing.
That thing.
But I appreciate the attempts to like really lead into it with that aspect, with the ice, with the axe.
They were really good with continuity.
It like watching it in that order, it flowed shockingly well.
I bet, yeah.
But it either way, the 82 is just a much better movie.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna do it. Like, any last thoughts on the thing?
Just like go if you haven't seen it, I hope we didn't spoil much, and go and watch it. And if you have seen it, go and rewatch it. Like, these movies are great. And if you haven't seen Thing from Another World, it's in black and white. I'm sorry, kids, but it is a really good science fiction story mixed with horror and from that era. And it is a really good kind of snapshot of how the United States was feeling post World War II in this new scientific frontier that we were leading into. And it's kind of a great kind of social drama as well as like monster movie.
Yeah. And yeah, let us know in the comments, guys. Which was your favorite? Because I doubt there's going to be a consensus on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
But let us know what you thought in the comments. Like, what were your favorite parts of the 3 movies? Did you like the big debate? Like, did you like getting more information on the thing and its backstory from 2011, or would you prefer that they had left well enough alone? Like, regardless of whether you like 2011, did you like the information that you got from it?
Sure.
And lastly, real quick, we're just gonna give some shout outs for the sci-fi moment of the week.
Oh yeah.
Did you have a moment yourself, Jesse?
My sci-fi moment of the week was just going through these movies. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was I just finished episode 2 of Westworld.
Oh yeah.
And was
Oh, it's so good.
with trying to give no spoilers at all, like the God analogies that are being built here.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to watch 3 versions of The Thing, I would have caught up by now.
Yeah.
But I watched all of these. Chillcat, at the Chillcat on Twitter, says 1000% absolutely brutal season premiere of The Walking Dead.
Had me like, and then she had a picture.
Yeah. And Captain Travis 55 says, my sci-fi moment of the week was watching Star Trek the Motion Picture with my grandparents and my grandpa asking, "Where's Worf?"
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love all parts of that question.
Yeah.
And guys, so next week, big announcement that we were meant to tease at the top of the show.
Yeah.
We're going to be changing air times as we wrap out of here. Sorry, computer, we're running over. But we are going to be changing air times to give us some more time to prep and to bring you a better show. So from now on, starting November 6th, which will be our next show, that's Sunday, November 6th, we will be on every Sunday at 3 p.m. So same time, but different day. And our next show will be, we're at our election special.
That's right.
Are we living in idiocracy? Because we might be.
We could be.
We very well might be.
Depending on how this election goes.
And Kristian Blatt, I believe, is going to be back. He joined us a few weeks ago, and he's also the host on our Sit Network of Trump versus Hillary talk show. So we're going to get real weird and political and sci-fi-y. So guys, thank you so much for joining us on Sci-Fi Weekly. I am Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson.
I'm Jesse Klein. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1, JessKlein, the number 1.
Thank you again to our computer Steve in the booth. And until next week, guys, this has been Sci-Fi Weekly. Thanks for geeking out with us.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.